on Cast Nashville, we try not to spread hate in this world, but if we're going to, we're saving it for pumpkin spice. Lattes, donuts, dog treats, all of it. Joining me for the seasonal slander is Margaret Littman, food and travel correspondent for the Nashville Scene, and our very own Cast Nashville contributor. Together, we're shouting out the autumn foods that actually deserve your love instead of this overhyped fall fad. It's Thursday, October 9th. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Happy October, everybody. And you know what that means? It's time for pumpkin spice everywhere. Margaret, what are your thoughts on the old pumpkin spice?
I do feel that this might be my most controversial take on the Cast Nashville podcast, that I'm not a huge pumpkin spice fan. I'm not a pumpkin spice latte girly. I know.
Insert scream.
I know. I feel like I might need security. So I have a friend who is a pastry chef who said to me, sort of annoyed about all the pumpkin spice things, you know, it's just nutmeg. And I think about that a lot because it's not that I don't like the spice and I like nutmeg. And I mean, we're going to talk about how many awesome seasonal foods there are out there and great things. But I do think, like anything, too much can be too much. And I don't necessarily love that nutmeg pumpkin spice flavoring in everything.
Yes.
I mean, I've seen it in protein powder, moon pies, and dog treats. I'm not sure we need everything to be all pumpkin spice all the time. Although, of course, I'm not trying to yuck other people's yums. If people want to eat it, that's fine.
Go for
Drink
it.
I guess. Whatever.
Whatever you do.
Eat, drink.
You know what? My mom made her own little pumpkin spice. And I put it in my coffee every morning, and it does it for me. Why? Because it was free. And those pumpkin spice lattes, chai latte, they're just so expensive. It feels like a marketing scheme, we're being totally taken advantage of, right?
So it is a marketing scheme. And I actually, started doing, I don't want to call it research, but I did a little bit of Googling. And I mean, everything is marketing, but we are being marketed too. Pretty early in my career, I interviewed a French chef. His name is Sébastien Canon, and he has now founded something called the French Pastry School in Chicago. We were talking about foods in France being different from foods in America and the way we eat differently. And he was talking about how, one of our problems is that we don't necessarily eat seasonally. And he said at the time, this is in the late 90s maybe, he said, the only thing that Americans get right seasonally is pumpkin. You only eat pumpkin when it is in season. You only think about it then in October, November, and then you're done with it. And I was like, that's such a great example because it is this thing that we only have then. And then that is before we started getting Starbucks, I guess, introduced pumpkin spice latte in 2003, 2004. And that definitely kicked off all of this PSL mania.
And I've been taken in by Trader Joe's also. So, of course, we're marketed with the pumpkin spice, pumpkin pie, all that sort of stuff. But Trader Joe's even, they have gone crazy. Have you noticed? I mean, it's like fall leaf corn chips with fall harvest salsa and butternut squash mac and cheese bites.
I took a picture of it with last time I was in Trader Joe's to discuss this with you because, again, they were one of the places that had the pumpkin spice dog treats and 7 different kinds of cookies and those swirly stick batons that are almost like cookies that go in your drink. And it's to the point where, because I guess Trader Joe's has limited shelf space, you couldn't find the non-pumpkin spice things, right? Because they only had the pumpkin spice. What do they call their fake Oreos? JoJo's. They only had those. I mean, it is seasonal. That'll go away. And then they'll bring us everything peppermint flavored, I guess, in December.
Eggnog, all that. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
All that stuff.
Well, they had like pumpkin marinara.
But the thing is that I think the more that we're into pumpkin spice and we put it in everything, the more we overlook using actual pumpkin and actual squash and root vegetables in dishes that are seasonal and are delicious and are not just the overwhelm of the nutmeg flavoring. I guess that's the other thing about pumpkin spice. It's not the spice or the nutmeg or cinnamon or whatever that I don't like, but it's it being ubiquitous in all products, but also it kind of overpowering the taste in lots of things, right? You can't really taste whatever you're eating because it just tastes like pumpkin spice.
Sure does. And I just saw recently Flora and Fauna, they have talk about capitalism and marketing. They have a Showgirl pumpkin chai latte named after Taylor Swift's new album. So I'm guessing you're not going to go to that, but that's
amazing. All right. And but that's a great example. I didn't see that, but they have a chai cookie that I think is delicious. I ate it like a month ago, so not in pumpkin spice season, but it has a lot of those kinds of warm spices that would be the same thing. And it is delicious. It's not overwhelmingly sweet. But yeah, I'm probably not going to go for the pumpkin spice chai Showgirl.
With glitter in it.
Edible glitter. Hopefully edible glitter. No, I'm probably not going to do that.
Well, let's circle back to what your chef friend said then. So like America, we are focusing just on pumpkins during the seasonal time that we should be. So where else in town are they focusing on the seasonal produce?
Last week I was in Chattanooga and I went to a restaurant called Second American, which is owned by the same folks who own Fifth and Taylor here. And I ate this thing that was a twice-baked spaghetti squash. So cooked sort of like a twice-baked potato, right? Shell is hard. And then all these vegetables and cheeses and everything on top and then baked. So it had that perfect brown crust on the cheese that you want. And it was unreal. It was so good. And it was very hearty and it was pretty big because spaghetti squash are pretty big. So it just felt like this bathtub of deliciousness. And so I came home and I checked, and Fifth and Taylor here does have it on their menu too. Apparently they do have it on the menu most of the year, but they kind of change what's in it. To me, like, that is the perfect example of the kinds of things I want to eat right now. It was paired with all these other tastes of the season, but it didn't feel overly sweet or artificial or anything. It just felt like sort of an homage to root vegetables. Spaghetti squash is something that I always want to be better at figuring out how to cook at home, but I'm never great at it.
I've kind of gotten it down. I think that the trick is you have to salt it, pepper it, olive oil it all over, and then place it down like with the hollow side down onto a sheet pan, and then cook that sucker forever. Like when you think it's done, just keep cooking it. And then when it comes out, it's almost like caramelized, and then it's like perfectly able to be scooped out. And it's not watery, because I've messed up plenty.
So that's how I think I mess it up a lot, that it is watery.
It's not a quick meal. I think that's the problem, is sometimes I'm like, I'm going to make spaghetti squash tonight and I'm going to throw it in the microwave, because you can do it that way too. But I think the best is like roasting it in the oven, like on 375 for like an hour. And I love exactly like just piling on whatever I have in the fridge and make it like a bathtub and just go to town.
The bottom, the top, which is now the bottom, gets kind of roasted. Mm-hmm. And then is the outside hard?
Yeah, the outside still stays pretty hard.
That was what was wild to me about this Fifth and Taylor twice baked spaghetti squashes. The outside became a bowl. It was so hard almost. Yeah, so you could just like dig in and get so all good. Of those things.
And for fall, it is truly the best. We are back with Margaret Littman talking about pumpkin spice alternatives for fall. What else you got for us?
I am a big fan of the bagel shop in Donaldson, and they've got this pear and pomegranate tartare right now, which is basically an open-faced bagel where they have whipped goat cheese and pears and pomegranates, and it is unreal. You don't think it's something that you're getting at your neighborhood bagel shop, which is actually one of the things that I really love about the bagel shop is I think that they think about using bagels in different ways and they're super creative about it. So that is a beautiful dish. You know, the pomegranate seeds are really bright red and it feels sort of special, but it's not having to go out for a fancy meal because lots of the places I was going to mention are like more an investment of time and money to go out and have some of these dishes. And I loved that that was a pretty quick thing. And I just loved how it was a really unusual way to think about using pomegranates and pears this time of year.
Wow. Ooh, that sounds delicious.
Although honestly, if you put whipped goat cheese on something, I'm going to eat it.
I loved whipped goat cheese with pears or beets. It just goes so well together. All right, what other places?
Butcher and Bee, another one of my regular favorites. They have sort of a potato latke, potato pancake right now that's pretty crispy. And then it has creme fraiche and chives on it and a spiced apple butter. You know, traditionally, lots of people eat potato pancakes with applesauce on them, but that's sometimes too sweet for me. I think this is a really good way to get it, you know, with a seasonal apple, and they always have tons of seasonal vegetables and local vegetables in there.
And that whipped feta dip or whatever they do with it, like drizzled in honey. And
it's so good. I was interviewing somebody else from a different restaurant who's just coming to town. And he said to me, "What is it with Nashville and whipped feta?" And I'm like, well, that all came from Butcher and Bee, I think. It's on the menu lots of places. But yeah, we do. It was funny to me because I love it, but I didn't know that many people around town love it. But apparently it's very... Even other restaurant owners are picking up that it's very popular.
Oh, yeah. You do see it everywhere now.
It's a lot of places. I still think Butcher and Bee's is, I haven't like done a comprehensive taste test, but I still think Butcher and Bee's is the best. And I will say the day during the pandemic when I figured out I could get whipped feta to go, I was like, oh, that was one of my better pandemic days. Because I tried to make it on my own, just like now we're talking about spaghetti squash, but also my whipped feta, I think it's the fermented honey, but it never really turns out. It's fine. I mean, I eat it. It's good, but
it's not like theirs.
It doesn't come out the same way. Yeah.
Where should I go if it's like a cooler night and I want something really comforting?
I think after pumpkin spice latte, the next thing that people do a lot with pumpkin and butternut squash is in ravioli, right? In pasta.
Yes.
I feel like I see that a lot. And there are a couple places that are doing kind of interesting takes on that. The first is Frankie's in East Nashville. Right now they have a sweet potato ravioli that is, you know, they do handmade pastas. And then that's in kind of a savory Parmesan broth. I mean, on a cool night, again, fill a bathtub of savory Parmesan broth, and that sounds pretty cozy to me. And the vibe there, I think, is kind of because it's kind of dark and a good cold night outing.
Oh, that's a great suggestion. I had that last year, and I think they were serving a butternut squash ravioli last year, maybe, and it was outstanding. I mean, just fresh pasta dough that you could tell. I mean, how can you go wrong? It's really so light.
You can't go wrong with homemade pasta.
Nope.
STK, which is in the Gulch, they have a few things that are interesting on their menu right now for sort of pumpkin fall flavors. They have Wagyu pot stickers as an appetizer, and that is served with a butternut squash puree. So I thought that was kind of an interesting take on the whole ravioli idea of meat inside some kind of carb. But I like the idea of that because it has some sweet sesame on it. So it's going to be sweet still, but it's a different kind of take on that sweetness. And then they do have a pumpkin ravioli that has king crab in it.
Ooh.
And mushrooms and pine nuts. And so again, I feel like that's an interesting interpretation.
Is there a restaurant that you haven't tried yet that you've heard a little bit of buzz about that you're looking forward to trying this fall?
I think Yolan at the Joseph. It's Italian, it's a high-end Italian restaurant. And I think the way they interpret what's in season is always interesting. So I might go, I haven't tried their fall menu, but I might go check that out. Husk always does interesting things with local produce. And I understand that they've got some things with like sweet potato and puffed rice. I mean, I have been to Margot many times in East Nashville, but they don't have a freezer. You know, everything Margot makes, everything that's made there is fresh and seasonal because they have to rely on what's seasonal. So that's definitely somewhere that if I just was like, I want to see what people are doing with produce right now, that would be high on my list because just the way that they set things up, it has to be good.
Do you venture to pumpkin patches?
You can't go wrong with picking your own, right? There's something really fun. Again, I think the closer we get to the actual pumpkin rather than the manufactured pumpkin spice, the better. So I do think it's kind of fun to go to a pumpkin patch. There's a place in Smyrna called Walden Pumpkin Farm, and that's a you pick it place. So you can actually go out there and like figure out, do you want one that's short and fat or tall and skinny, and like choose it yourself. I mean, and also that's just an opportunity to like get out and see how our food is grown and what a pumpkin looks like. When I was a kid, I had a neighbor. Plenty of people must do this now, but I had never seen it before I was a kid. They carved our names in pumpkins when they were just tiny, little starter pumpkins. And then over the season, the pumpkin got bigger. So our names got really big on the sides of the pumpkins, and then they gave them to us at the holidays.
Oh.
And that was so cool. But it also was a way for us to like learn to think about like how produce grows and like what happens to it, and how if you have this like scar or cut in something, how it's going to expand when the fruit or vegetable expands. It was so cool.
Listeners, go out and teach your kids how produce grows. I think that's a valuable lesson.
But you also can go, if you can't make it to Smyrna or one of the you pick up places, there's so many places that have farm stands in the city that are stocking up with all sorts of pumpkins. There's the one on Whitebridge Road that's got pumpkins and many of them are squash, not pumpkins, but whatever. Decorative gourds of all kinds and shapes that they've got up. There's often one at Stratford High School in East Nashville. And so there's lots of ways that you can go pick out your own, even if you're not in the dirt picking it yourself.
Right. What's your favorite thing to do with a pumpkin?
So I do love to roast pumpkin seeds. That definitely is my jam. I think that is a perfect snack for a cool day. So with like, I like them with Lowry's seasoning salt. I always have big ideas for carving pumpkins. I don't know how they don't always look like they do in my head. And then using the pumpkins to make lots of things that we've talked about here are just, I like to make a big sheet pan of roasted vegetables. So like you did with your spaghetti squash, I'll just kind of put whatever vegetables I have around and roast them all together and then figure out how to use them once they're roasted.
What flavor would you choose if you got to start the new fall food trend?
Oh, man, that's a great question.
A squash latte. That'd be gross.
That would not be my first pick. I think I would do something savory rather than sweet with the root vegetables and squash. And I think there are a bunch of root vegetables that we think about that are not very popular, like parsnips, that people are scared of or don't know what to do with. But anything you can do with a carrot, you can do with a parsnip. So I might try something like that feels scary, but is just like a great root vegetable with garlic.
Well, Trader Joe's may be listening. And so if we see it on the shelves next year, Trader Joe's savory parsnip Oreos, they better credit you.
But like a parsnip, they might not do a parsnip Oreo, but if they did they have all those dried seaweed chips.
Oh, yeah.
Right? If you had those as parsnip chips.
Ooh, that'd be delicious. Absolutely.
Or where were we just talking about that had the, Frankie's had the savory Parmesan broth. If If you put your parsnips in there, how could that go bad?
Right. I do love like a creamy parsnip puree with short ribs.
That is something, I almost always order short ribs if it's on the menu because they're so good. And that's another thing that I never make at home.
Nope, me neither. But if it's on the menu, same. I always get it. Well, folks at home, I bet you're probably pretty hungry by now. So I guess we'll let you go. Thank you again. This really has been special because, yes, we've been duped to think that pumpkin spice is all there is, but actually there's so much more to be enjoyed this fall.
As always, thank you for letting me talk about these things and try some different things.
I think we're probably going to have you back on for the holidays and get into and demystify eggnog lattes and
peppermint stick. I'll start
all those things.
I'll start thinking about it right now.
Great. All right, we'll see you soon. That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Nashville neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Toodles.